that I didn't hear
Like,
something.
it's one of my favorite
Doing the
parts
best I
of
can.
the Pride Week.
6 minutes.
The corner that's dedicated
Ready?
to Pride. Oh my gosh, it was like just outstanding stories telling this year.
It's not helpful. Hi, I'm Shanna Cox, Chair of the Lewiston Planning Board. I welcome all here this evening, and I call this meeting to order. Can we have the roll, please?
Yes, Roger Dupree.
Here.
Michael Marcotte.
Present.
Vincent here. Mark Roy.
Here.
Shanna Cox.
Here?
Amy Smith.
Here.
Alex Pine.
Here.
Panthea Burns.
Here.
Lindstrom, the alternate, is not here yet.
Okay. Do we think Zoe is absent? Not that I need a voting member tonight, but
We don't think she'll be absent, but
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure.
we'll welcome her as she comes along. Please let the record reflect that we also are joined by Shelley Norton, our Deputy Director, Jonathan Connor, our Director, Linda Tripp, our Administrator Assistant. Is Craig popping in on us later? He's got an excused one. Good for him. Are there any adjustments to the agenda this evening?
No, there aren't.
Wonderful. Any correspondence?
No.
Great. We're going to go right into our first public hearing. Michelle? Michelle? Thank you. Michel Curran has submitted a Shoreland Zoning permit application for the replacement of a camp located at 38 Shore Road. Shelley, let's get started.
Okay. The board will recall a few months ago, you had another shoreline zone permit application that came before you. This is a little bit
Shelley, speak. Yeah. thank you.
unusual.
Sorry.
Yep.
Thank you.
Unusual for the board. We haven't seen a lot of these in recent years. So very similar to the last one. The intent here is to, in this case, it's already burned down, so the camp will be completely demolished and rebuilt. So because it's being replaced more than 50%, that triggers the review by the board, and also because it's within the shoreline zone, within 100 feet of the no-name pond, it also triggers your review. That combination sends it to you. So I'll call it existing camp, even though it doesn't exist, but the prior existing camp was 1,034 square feet in size, and has an existing gravel driveway and septic system that was relatively new. It was installed in 2009. It was a 1.5-story high camp, if you will, or with the peak of the roof, it was 20 feet, 4 inches. And so the property itself there's lawn area where the camp was located, but immediately adjacent to the back of the camp, there's ledge that starts going up steep, and there's large mature vegetation. So as part of your review, you'll see that staff believes that the application is complete. We're asking you, though, to make a determination on completeness. And then also, because it is within that 100 feet of the pond, there's a requirement that you make a determination as to whether the location it's being placed is set back to the greatest practical extent. So the applicant has worked with the Androscoggin Soil and Water Conservation District, and it is their recommendation, because of that ledge and the steep slope and the fact that there's mature vegetation that would need to be cut, that the camp shouldn't be moved back, up onto the slope. The applicant has proposed rotating the camp, so it actually would be set back farther, even though it really isn't leaving that lawn area, but it would be set back between 40 and 42 feet from the pond. Currently, it's set back 33 feet. So that would be another thing you need to determine, is whether it's set back to the greatest practical extent. And then finally, there would be reviewing and making a determination on the application itself. So those would be the 3 motions that we'd be looking for you to make this evening. We do have a couple of recommendations of conditions of approval. In the ordinance, there is a requirement that any expansion to the structure be recorded at the Registry of Deeds, so it's known for the future that the expansion opportunity has already happened. They are asking to do an expansion, which is within the amount that's allowed similar to the last application you had seen. There is also a requirement that there be an erosion control plan. The applicant has taken a course from DEP and is in the process, as part of finishing that course, he'll be preparing his own erosion control plan for his site. So he's just looking to do that at the building permit time instead of at your issuance of your permit. There's also a requirement in our groundwater conservation, it's the no-name pond overlay protection district, that there be an infiltration plan for the roof water that Public Works would review. And that's really a separate part of the ordinance, but we just want to capture that for staff, that would need to be reviewed at the time of building permit as well. So that's all my comments.
I have one quick follow-up question on that, which is the staff recommendation number 4. Pretty broad. Is this just a catch-all in case we forget something, and is that?
It is. So, the reason I had put that in there, and just for folks' benefit, just state that any other requirements of the Shoreland Area Ordinance be met by the applicant at the time of building permit. Since planning and the board are not in the habit of issuing the Shoreland Area Permit, it's typically the code enforcement officer that does that. I just wanted to ensure that since you're issuing this permit, if there is something else that they typically require, that there not be any question as to whether the code officer can require it.
Is there a way for me to be supportive of that and question at the time of building permit? Because it feels likely that some of what the applicant might experience and code enforcement might identify might be hard or challenging to identify at the building permit. In fact, it might be at that time the code enforcement officer is identifying some of those things because of the uncommonness. So maybe it's before occupancy. I can think of like a vegetation catch where please put some 3-foot bushes within 10 feet of the water. Who knows? I'm making that up. But that might be a requirement, and it shouldn't hold up the building permit.
Okay.
It's June in Maine, and we don't get a lot of that.
I hear you. So what if we said be met to the satisfaction of code enforcement?
That would be fine.
Okay.
Is that okay? By the applicant.
I would like to add that I did speak to,
We're going to have you up, and you have to speak into a microphone, so hang on just one second. Met by the applicant to the satisfaction of code enforcement?
Yep.
Okay. In just a minute, you'll get your turn. Any other questions for staff from the board before we invite the applicant up?
Is that a typo error on the back of the first page under footprint and height? You've got a total building area of 1,0340 square feet.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, that last 0 should not be there, Roger. Thank you.
That's what I thought.
Nice catch.
That's a good catch.
That'd be wild. So the total building area of 1,034 square feet, and the proposal is to build 1,340 square feet. Those
Yes.
two numbers are accurate?
Yes.
Great. Any other questions for staff? So before we open it up for public comment, we are happy to invite the applicant up to see if there's anything else that you wanted to add or any questions the board might ask of you. So we'd ask you to come up to take a seat. You'll introduce yourself in the microphone with your name and your address. If there's anything you'd like to share proactively, you're welcome to, and then the board might ask you some questions.
okay. Michel Curran, 41 Beaver Road, Sebattis, Maine. The only thing I wanted to add was speaking with the DEP. They offered vegetation that could be planted at the water line. So they offered that if that's something I wanted to do, that they would work with me. And I worked with Emma from Soil and Water Conservation, and she's visited the site, and she's offered her services at $60 an hour, which I think was very reasonable. And she's very, very helpful. Said she loves reading documents, which I thought was great, because she's wicked knowledgeable. And so I'm going to use her as a resource when I put together the water protection type thing. I will write up a proposal, and then I'm going to run it by her also and see if she likes it. And because we want to protect the water quality, And I worked with them in the past also, as far as the snowmobiles were used to come up and they were eroding the bank, and I worked with the state then, and they were really, really good. So they're a heck of a resource, and I will use them also.
We love that. That is always nice to hear. It's also nice to hear an applicant who's proactively working with some of these pieces and within them. So thank you for that. Any questions from the board for Michel? Mark?
This MDEP certification program you're doing, how long does it take?
It's about online 8 to 10 hours, and I say 8 to 10 hours because I tend to back up a little bit and review certain things and made notes as I was going.
Yeah.
But it's an 8-hour course if you just do it. And then what you're supposed to do is I have to go to 2 different sites, take 3 pictures. I have to submit those 3 pictures and then write a narrative as what I liked about what they did, and what I didn't like about what they did, and how I would do it differently. So I have been to one site in Litchfield, which was a very good example of a bad example. So that worked out well. And I was telling Shelley also, I'm working in Rumford, so I'm going by, right by Bear Pond. They're doing a huge project there, and the slope is very steep. So they're doing riffraff and all that. So I want to stop by and take pictures of that, and they're doing a fantastic job there. So I'm going to stop by and pick the guy's brain a little bit, ask him if I can take some pictures, and I'll submit that also to the state as my 3 pictures of 2 different locations. So one is an example of a really good job, and one is an example of a vague attempt with no maintenance. I know the silk fencing was down, dirt pushed against it, it was down, no one was maintaining it. The job site location was very active. I felt that if I put the address down, they might get a visit.
Pictures without an address are probably sufficient. Yeah.
And so your project for the certification, that'll be your own property though?
Yes, it's gonna be my own property, and I'm a contractor, so this is going to allow me to offer those services in the future.
Okay, oh, nice.
That's the main drive behind it. His main drive is myself, but also to have more services that I can offer.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
Thank you. Roger, did you have a question?
Yes, I did, thank you. Mr. Curran, I have some reservation regarding the septic system. It says it was installed in 2009.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you a short story about that. It was installed, and we don't go into camp very often, and there's a long story behind that, because there's always a lot of vandalism there, and I could go on and on, but whatever. And so I had a family member that wanted to have a wedding over there. So I went down the day before, and I made sure everything was prepped for the wedding, and I used the lake water, so I hooked up a temporary pump, and the system was never used. It's all brand new. And we had the party, and the septic system wasn't working. The toilet wasn't working. So I found out that when the plumber put it together, he never cut the hole in the septic tank when he put the line on, so the system was backed up. So to this day, excuse my language, but there is no waste in that septic system. It has never been used.
That was appropriate language. What was it?
I tell you, it was a messy job of finding out.
I bet.
I can imagine.
Roger, did that answer your question?
It answers the question, but the thing is, it's in the application, you said it's never been used.
Right.
And then elsewhere in there, it says it had limited use. So
Well,
that's where the confusing part came in.
I wrote that because
The whole
saying it
got
was
cut.
never used in 2009, I didn't think that was a saleable story, and I didn't think I would have an opportunity to tell you what the real story was. But I opened the cover, and it's as dry as a bone as it was the day it was installed. And of course, now with the fire, it's not even connected anymore, but, and I want to use the same system, because the height is perfect, and it would all work out very well, so there's no reason to rip it up.
They'll cut the hole for you before you
Well,
tie it.
I already cut it out. To empty that line.
Any other questions from the board?
And I just want to point out that when he applies for the building permit, the plumbing inspector and building inspector will review the current design and ensure that the expansion to the, to the building that the system is adequate for that.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, given that this is a public hearing, I'm going to open it up for public comment. If anyone is here who would like to speak on this, you would bring yourself to the podium. You'd be limited to 3 minutes, and you'd introduce yourself by name and address. Thanks. Appreciate that cue. Seeing none, I'm going to close public comment. Go back to the board. Any final questions for staff or applicant? Otherwise, we'd be looking for 3 actions, which start with a finding.
Okay, I'll make a finding that the application submitted by Michel Curran for a shoreland zone permit for 38 Shore Road is a complete application pursuant to Article 12, Section 10.
Thank you. Is there a second for this finding? Do I need a second?
Yes.
Yeah, to find it all the way. Thanks. Did I hear you say you second it, Roger?
Yes.
Thank you. Any discussion on this finding? Can you call the roll?
Roger Dupree.
Yes.
Michael Marcotte.
Yes.
Lucy Bisson, yes. Mark Roy.
Yes.
Shanna Cox.
Yes.
Excuse me. Amy Smith
Yes.
and Alex Pine.
Yes.
Thanks.
I will make a finding that the application submitted by Michel Curran for a shoreland zone permit for 38 Shore Road for the relocation of an existing camp within 100 feet of the pond meets the greatest practicable extent pursuant to Article 12, Section 2, subsection C3, relocation.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second?
Thank you, Alex. Any discussion on this finding? Call the roll, please.
Roger Dupree,
Yes.
Michael Marcotte,
Yes.
Lucy Bisson, yes. Mark Roy,
Yes.
Shanna Cox,
Yes.
Amy Smith,
Yes.
Alex Pine.
Yes.
Okay, I will make a motion that the application submitted by Michel Curran for a shoreland zone permit at 38 Shore Road meets all the necessary criteria contained in the zoning and land use code, including but not limited to Article 13, Section 4, approval criteria, and that the approval be granted with the following conditions. 1, that the expansion of the non-conforming camp be reported at the Registry of Deeds within 90 days of approval of this shoreland zone permit, and that proof be provided to the city of said filing prior to the issuance of a building permit. 2, that prior to the issuance of a building permit, an erosion control plan be provided and approved by court enforcement. 3, that prior to the issuance of a building permit, of a roof water infiltration design be provided and approved by Public Works. 4, that any other requirements of the shoreland zoning ordinance be met to the satisfaction of code enforcement.
Well done. Thank you. Is there a second for that motion?
Second.
I'm going to give that one to Amy. Linda? Was simultaneous, and she hadn't gotten one yet. Any further discussion on this motion? Can you call the roll, please?
Roger Dupree,
Yes.
Michael Marcotte,
Yes.
Lucy Bisson, yes. Mark Roy,
Yes.
Shanna Cox,
Yes.
Amy Smith,
Yes.
Alexander Pine.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Happy building.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Good luck with your course, too. Thank you.
Good job, $94,000.
Yeah.
He knows somebody. We're going to go on to the next agenda item, which is another public hearing for Brian Langlais. Submitted a petition for a zoning map amendment to the planning board for recommendation to the city council to change the zoning for the front portion of 277 River Road and all of 287 River Road from rural agricultural RA to industrial. Shelley.
Okay, I'm going to make a quick location change so I can pull up a map for you while I talk. Okay, so this request is to change zoning from the rural agricultural district to the industrial zoning district. And when we get this up, you can see it a little bit more clearly. Okay. So,
Sorry, can you click the layer that gives us the address numbers? You can
There isn't a layer that does that I'm aware of, but we can zoom in. So this parcel here that I'm clicking on, that's 277 River Road, and this one is 287 River Zoning. So
Does that make the next small one inset as 289? Because that's part of the adjacent zoning, right?
yeah, so 289 and 299 are also both owned by Mr. Langlais, who's here this evening. So he owns these two parcels. They were rezoned a few years ago to industrial. And then there's industrial zoning across the street and over here. And you can see that a portion of 277, this part right here, is already zoned industrial. So there's just this portion that's zoned RA, and then this parcel here that's zoned RA. So then with the rezoning, industrial would be all along River Road uninterrupted, and the back part of the parcel would stay resource conservation along the river. So that's really the request.
Can we make a commitment as a board with two requests to end with a short time frame tonight that we will not delve into why that industrial is carved in and around we're not going to explore that. We're just going to focus.
Probably a remnant or something.
We can make that commitment though, right?
So the applicant has pulled together an application with a petition that's been verified by the clerk's office. We have information here about how the change is in conformance with the comprehensive plan. And also the applicant is here this evening who can speak to it. He intends to keep the single-family home and utilize that or rent it out. And then he has plans for additional construction on the rest of the land for industrial use. I'm happy to answer questions or have the applicant come up.
Any questions for staff before we invite the applicant up? Would you like to join us? You'll start by introducing yourself, name and address.
Yep.
Welcome.
Thank you. Brian Langlais, 3 Commons Drive, Lewiston.
Thank you. Any presentation or comments you'd like to make, or would you like to just receive questions?
Just received questions. I guess the use is I'm going to be looking to expand the industrial use by putting a steel building up, storage, office use, things like that.
Speak in the mic, please.
The
Yeah.
whole thing moves, you're good.
So just looking to put a building up, like a steel building similar to Gengin Drive type buildings, commercial use, industrial use, things like that.
Thanks. Any questions from the board for the applicant? I think the zoning map speaks for itself on this one, in my opinion. Great, then given that this is a public comment period, I'm going to open it up for public comment. Seeing none, we'll close it. Thank you very much. Oh, I'm really sorry about that, Shelley. I just put paper, you don't, thank you.
You're
I would've
throwing
done
things
that.
at him. That's not very nice.
It's the gavel that messes me up.
Okay, I'm going to make a motion pursuant to Article 7, Section 4, Article 17. 17, my Roman numerals are rusty. Section 5 of the Zoning and Land Use Code to send a favorable recommendation to the City Council for the request by Brian Langlais to change the zoning for the front portion of 277 and all of 287 River Road from rural agricultural to industrial.
Is there a second? Second. Thank you, Roger. Any discussion on this motion? Call the roll?
Roger Dupree.
Yes.
Michael Marcotte.
Yes.
Lucy Bisson, yes. Mark Roy.
Yes.
Shanna Cox.
Yes.
Amy Smith.
Yes.
Alexander Pine.
Yes.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Best wishes.
Thank you.
Yes, good luck.
Put a nice tax-based business in there. Great. Is there any other business from the board this evening? Great. We have reading of the minutes. We are looking for a motion to adopt the April 28th and May 12th, 2025 draft minutes.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second? Second. Amy, thank you. Thank you. Hate for that to linger. Any discussion about the minutes? Can you call the roll?
Roger Dupree,
Yes.
Michael Marcotte,
Yes.
Lucy Bisson, yes. Mark Roy,
Yes.
Shanna Cox.
Yes.
Amy Smith,
Yes.
Alexander Pine.
Yes.
Motion to adjourn.
A motion to adjourn. Thank you so much.
The world's
Yeah. But they don't usually go that way, sir. Just don't build expectations around this evening. Hey, board members, do note that you get the month of June off after this, and we will see you July 14th.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Living big. Thanks. And there's still daylight outside.
We gotta